TSN film crew came under fire in Donetsk region. I'll tell you about this and more in the upcoming broadcast. I'm Solomia Vipitska, and this is TSN. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch our broadcast, and be sure to comment on what you found most interesting. Here are a few of today's topics. Strikes on Zaporizhia.
I was going down, and I heard the Shahed picking up speed. After the explosion, I was in the shelter. The vibration even reached the shelter. It was really scary. The power went out.
How is the region recovering after yet another insidious enemy attack? Texas underwater. How many victims has the deadly disaster claimed in the American state so far? 1 person killed and more than 70 injured in Kharkiv. Among them are 7 children. The city has been under massive attack since 5 in the morning. The occupiers struck it with 10 drones. There is destruction and fires broke out. Despite the doctors' efforts, they could not save a 34-year-old woman who suffered severe injuries. 8 victims remain in the hospitals. And more about the consequences of the attack from TSN correspondent Ol Pavlovska next.
Kharkiv has been under drone strikes since 5 in the morning. Explosions are heard in 2 districts of the city at once. A fire broke out on the upper floors of an apartment building. Rescuers are fighting the fire and evacuating residents who found themselves trapped in their own homes.
The enemy continues to terrorize the civilian population and strikes exclusively at civilian infrastructure. This is a residential building. It was inhabited, people lived there. All the people have now been evacuated.
Apartment buildings, a kindergarten, and a supermarket have been damaged. Dozens have been injured. 2 brothers, aged 7 and 11, were wounded by shards of glass. A 3-year-old girl suffered a blast injury and acoustic trauma, while her peer is experiencing an acute stress reaction.
The city was subjected to air attacks by the aggressor. The attack was reportedly carried out using a Garand-type UAV with a thermobaric warhead.
But just a few hours later, a new wave of attacks. 6 explosions in 20 minutes, all in the same district. Cars are burning right on the roads. The ground forces reported that the regional recruitment center and the surrounding area were hit. 3 people from the recruitment center were injured. In total, more than 30 people were injured in the city as a result of the strike.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Among the victims are children again, a 9-year-old girl, as well as boys aged 7 and 17.
He carried out strikes one after another with the aim of causing as many casualties as possible among the civilian population in broad daylight, when everyone was either at work or at home. As a direct result of the attack, several private civilian homes were destroyed.
Apartment buildings, vehicles, warehouses, businesses, and shops were damaged. Rescuers and utility workers are dealing with the aftermath of the attack. Ol Pavlovska, Alexander Kulish, Kharkiv, TSN 1+1.
The Russians attacked TCC buildings in 2 regional centers at once. Among the servicemen of the Zaporizhia TCC, 2 were wounded, and in Kharkiv, 3 were injured. The Ukrainian ground forces remind that over the past week, the enemy has attacked 3 more recruitment centers, in Poltava, where 3 people were killed, as well as in Kryvyi Rih and Kremenchuk. In light of the strikes in Lviv, visitors to recruitment centers will be checked with metal detectors, and the security company will increase its vigilance. 5 people were wounded in the Dnipropetrovsk region. In the Nikopol district, a man and a woman were injured. Private homes and a school were damaged. Homes were also on fire in the Malo-Mikhailivka community. There, 3 residents were injured due to drones. The number of dead in the Sumy region has reached 4. In the Kotinska community, the bodies of 2 more men who died as a result of a drone attack were found. A woman was also injured. 2 more people were killed in a community near the regional center. 2 were wounded. At least 1 person was killed and 7 were injured. The enemy continues to shell Donetsk region. In Konstantinivka, the body of a woman was pulled from the rubble of a house, and another may still be trapped under the debris. Kramatorsk was shelled with a tornado. 3 people were injured, and 3 more were hurt in the Andrivi community after a drone hit a car. A person was killed overnight in Odessa as well, where about 15 Shaheds attacked the energy infrastructure, causing large-scale fires. Cars, garages, service stations, and construction trailers were damaged. And this is what Nadistivka in the Kherson region looks like after the morning shelling. 2 local residents were hospitalized, and about 10 private homes were destroyed. At the same time, a drone attacked a tractor driver near Berislav. The man died from his injuries. At least 20 people, according to the regional administration, were injured in Zaporizhia. In the morning, the Russians attacked the city with Shahed drones. As a result of the enemy strikes, private homes, apartment buildings, and a university building were damaged. The enemy also hit the territory of the regional recruitment center. 2 servicemen are in the hospital. At the impact sites, utility workers are clearing away the mangled structures, and people are searching for anything that survived. More details in a report by TSN correspondent Kyra Oves.
The Russians attacked residential neighborhoods with Shahed drones at 10 in the morning. A cloud of black smoke rose over the city. The enemy struck near the regional military enlistment office. 2 soldiers from the security company, who had been transferred from the front according to the Military Medical Commission, are in moderate condition in the hospital. Large-scale fires broke out. At least 20 people were injured, 8 of whom are in the hospital. Doctors assessed their condition as moderate.
They have traumatic brain injuries, concussions, blast injuries, burns on their arms and legs, and shrapnel wounds. 5 patients have been hospitalized in specialized departments.
As a result of Russian terror, private houses and the building of the National University, Zaporizhia Polytechnic, caught fire. Students and teachers ran to the shelter.
I was going down, and I heard how the Shahed started picking up speed quickly. And then after the explosion, well, I was already in the shelter. The vibration went all through the shelter. It's really scary. The lights went out, and it was right in the middle of the day. They usually attack at night, but this, well, it's just horrible.
One of the drones hit directly into the house where Mrs. Ol lived with her 2 children. The family are displaced people from Frontline Kharkiv, where the enemy completely destroyed their home. The woman says there's nowhere to go back to, so they started building a new life in Zaporizhia. But the Russians reached them here too. During the strike, she rescued her sons from the burning house by herself.
I couldn't get the younger one out. He's a bit chubby. I had to break the windows. They were jammed. The door was jammed too. The gate was jammed. I cut my leg, slashed it all up. But I got the kids out. A Shahed drone hit us. First one over there by the white garage, the second from over there. The third hit my place, and there were 4 of them in a salvo. So it was a massive fire, and
the house turned into a burnout shell. The woman is trying to find any belongings that survived and the cats, who scattered everywhere after the strike.
Come to Mama. Come on. Come here. There were 15 of them.
You had 15 cats living here then?
Yeah.
And where are the rest?
I don't know.
Did they scatter?
Probably, yes.
Ms. Victoria was also left homeless as a result of the Shahed drone attack. She says she and her husband were lucky. They were at work during the attack by the occupiers.
The house is completely destroyed. The walls are leaning, everything. Well, it's unfit for living. That's it. We'll try to get some things out, maybe. Well, if we can.
Do you have somewhere to stay with relatives?
No, we don't.
And what do you think? Maybe a shelter, or what are you considering? What are you planning to do today?
Maybe for now, we'll stay with some friends. Yeah, for a day or 2, and then we'll figure it out.
Since early morning, over 100 rescuers have been trying to contain the fire at the strike sites.
The difficulty is that constant air raid alerts prevent rescuers from quickly finishing the cleanup. On top of that, the weather is extremely hot, it's very warm, and the wind is spreading the flames.
In Zaporizhia, aid stations have been set up near the impact sites. Utility workers and volunteers are clearing away the shattered structures. Rescuers are dousing the fire sites to prevent any reignition. Kira Oves, Andriy Kapovka, Zaporizhia, TSN 1+1.
In the Kherson region, the Southern Defense Forces destroyed several enemy boats at once. One of them was equipped with a powerful electronic warfare system, the Kapashan, but it didn't help the occupiers jam our FPV drone. The successful actions of the Marines are also being recorded far from the water, particularly in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The village of Dakhny, which lies on the administrative border with Donetsk region, remains under Ukrainian control, despite enemy claims of occupation. Fighters from the 37th Brigade raised their flag over it. Currently, the intensity of fighting in this section of the front has somewhat decreased. The administrative border of Dnipropetrovsk region now resembles more of a gray zone, say the troops of the Operational Strategic Group Khortytsia. But Russians keep trying to sneak into this zone in small groups. Most often, both here and on other sections of the front, there is less armored equipment and more motorcycles and buggies. And here is a video of one of these assaults that was stopped near Torsky. This is the successful work of the 63rd Brigade. However, according to the analytical portal Deep State, the occupiers have made some advances near Stepov and Rivnepil, and they managed to occupy Lobkov in the Zaporizhia region and Pyrovin in the Donetsk region. Overall, there have been 184 combat engagements on the front since yesterday. And the most were in Pokrovsk, 60 in Lyman, 30, and on the northern Slobozansky and Kursk directions, 24 each. Our missile forces and aviation managed to strike 16 areas where Russian personnel and equipment were concentrated. They suffered minor shrapnel cuts and concussions. The day before, a TSN film crew came under Russian shelling in Donetsk region. War correspondent Ruslan Yermolyak, together with cameraman Mikhailo Pityata, were working in the private sector of Kostiantynivka at the time. The Russians are shelling this important logistics hub for our troops so intensely now that our colleagues experienced it firsthand. The TSN crew managed to capture the moment of the enemy strike on film. We can see how it happened right now.
Are you eating all right?
Yeah, seems like it.
Get in the car, Al.
In the car, Rosie. Come on. Let's get out.
Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Meanwhile, I continue the TSN broadcast. The first round of ceasefire talks in the Middle East ended without a breakthrough, but today the parties are continuing again. They gathered in Doha, the capital of Qatar. Israel is not holding direct talks with Hamas. Egyptian and Qatari mediators are shuttling between them. Associated Press reports on the details of this peace plan. It involves a 60-day ceasefire, during which Hamas will release 10 living hostages and the bodies of 18 deceased hostages. Israeli forces will withdraw to a buffer zone along Gaza's borders with Israel and Egypt, and a significant amount of humanitarian aid will be provided. As in previous ceasefire agreements, Israel is to release Palestinian prisoners, but the number has not been disclosed yet. And although the current proposal does not guarantee a complete end to the war, which is exactly what Hamas is demanding, it does stipulate that negotiations for a permanent ceasefire will take place during these 60 days of truce. Donald Trump himself is acting as the guarantor that Israel will halt its military operations. Additional tariffs for the pro-Russian bloc. Donald Trump has threatened tariffs on anyone who supports the BRICS policy. The group, named after Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, now also includes a number of other countries, including Iran, the United Arab Emirates, Ethiopia, and Egypt. The BRICS Association, which was originally established primarily as a trade union thanks to Moscow's efforts, has in recent years been promoted as an alternative to the Western Bloc. On the eve of the BRICS summit, chaired by Brazil, the participants criticized Washington's policies, particularly its strikes on Iran and the trade war. The summit participants also condemned Ukrainian attacks on Russian infrastructure. After all these statements, Donald Trump called BRICS policy anti-American and is threatening everyone without exception who supports BRICS with an additional 10% tariff. BRICS partners include Belarus, Bolivia, Kazakhstan, Cuba, Malaysia, Thailand, Uganda, and Uzbekistan. Flood in Texas. The number of victims of the disaster has risen to 82. Rescuers continue search operations, as dozens of people are still considered missing. At least 28 of the dead are children, including visitors of a girls' summer camp. Authorities predict that the bodies of new victims may be discovered once the water recedes. A warning about a large-scale flood in Texas was issued on Thursday night. However, the disaster turned out to be even greater than forecasted. Some experts blame the current authorities for the population's insufficient preparedness for the flood. After all, following staff cuts at the National Weather Service, local branches have faced a shortage of personnel. However, Donald Trump, when asked by journalists about the cuts, placed the blame on Biden's predecessor and on the disaster itself. He said the disaster simply turned out to be too powerful. It's an important week for Ukraine. Several international events will be dedicated to our country. President Zelensky has announced events focused both on rebuilding the country and on restoring justice. What exactly is at stake, and what are international partners preparing for? TSN correspondent Katarina Fedorchenko will tell us more.
Trump's special envoy is heading to Rome to discuss Ukraine's recovery. According to Kiev Post, Keith Kellogg is visiting the Italian capital, where an international conference will be held on Thursday and Friday. Who else will be part of the American delegation has not yet been announced. However, according to some media reports, Kellogg plans to meet with Volodymyr Zelensky. The Trump special envoy thanked the Ukrainian president the day before, commenting on his conversation with the American counterpart.
We also thank President Zelensky for his condolences regarding the terrible loss of life during the flooding in Texas, especially among the youth. Both presidents acknowledge the pain of losing young people, both in times of peace and war. Compassion is a key part of leadership.
The President of the European Commission, the Chancellor of Germany, the Prime Minister of Poland, and other world leaders will also attend the Ukraine Recovery Conference in Rome. Meanwhile, the President of France and the Prime Minister of Britain will convene a meeting of the Coalition of the Willing via video link on the same day to discuss increasing military aid to Ukraine. In Paris, they also stated that the purpose of the meeting is to ensure the restoration of the Ukrainian army and the deployment of forces at the right moment to guarantee security within the framework of a possible ceasefire. President Zelensky described this week as important for Ukraine.
We are preparing new decisions, new agreements with our partners that will make Ukraine stronger both in defense and in recovery. Next week will be largely dedicated to Ukraine's recovery, new agreements with partners, and, to a great extent, the restoration of justice.
This Wednesday, the European Court of Human Rights is expected to deliver its verdict in the case of Ukraine and the Netherlands versus Russia. This is a joint lawsuit regarding human rights violations in the temporarily occupied territories of Donbass, including the illegal abduction of Ukrainian children, forced labor and torture, the shooting down of flight MH17 in 2014, and gross human rights violations during the full-scale invasion. Katarina Fedorchenko, TSN 1+1, Marathon, the only news.
Well, that's how I end the TSN broadcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on the bell so you don't miss our live broadcasts every weekday. Well, for now, the results of this day. Katarina Lysinova. Russians are attacking military recruitment office buildings. Among the servicemen of the Zaporizhia recruitment office, one was wounded, and in the Kharkiv office, 3 were injured. Over the past week, the enemy attacked 3 more recruitment centers in Poltava, where 3 people were killed, as well as in Kryvyi Rih and Kremenchuk. Given the tense situation in the country, the Vinnytsia Recruitment Office has announced that it is suspending operations at its current location and dispersing its staff. And in Lviv, visitors to the recruitment centers will be checked with metal detectors. Security companies will also increase their vigilance. At least 20 people were injured in Zaporizhia, which was attacked by the Russians with Shaheds this morning. Private homes, apartment buildings, and a university building were destroyed as a result of the enemy's strikes. The enemy also hit, among other places, the territory of the regional recruitment center. 2 servicemen were injured. The government has decided to conduct remote inspections of housing in temporarily occupied and frontline territories, and has also allocated 15 billion hryvnias to support internally displaced persons whose homes have been destroyed. This is a record amount for the program, thanks to which thousands of families have already purchased new homes. Flooding in Texas. The number of victims of the disaster has risen to 82. Rescuers continue search operations as dozens of people are still considered missing. At least 28 of the dead are children. Katarina Lysinova. Today, the government approved new assistance for Ukrainian families. This concerns 5,000 hryvnias for the purchase of school supplies, books, children's clothing and shoes, or other items needed for school. The support program applies to families whose children are starting first grade. Illegal production of explosives. This is what may have caused the explosions in the village of Berezina in the Zhytomyr region. The national police have charged 5 individuals with suspicion of committing a series of crimes in collusion. 2 explosions occurred on the evening of July 2nd. 2 people were killed, and another 83 sustained bodily injuries. At least 100 private households were affected. Trading in disabilities. In the Zhytomyr region, the police, together with the Security Service of Ukraine, uncovered another scheme for issuing fake certificates. According to the investigation, it was organized by a man and a woman of retirement age who had connections in the region's healthcare sector and colluded with officials from the Medical and Social Expert Commission. They charged $5,000 for their services. The organizers of the scheme face up to 8 years behind bars. Ukraine has launched its first regional express train. This is a modernized train that will set off on its first journey this Friday. The electric train will run from Lviv to Khmelnytskyi. What sets it apart from regular electric trains is its comfort and inclusivity.